Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of this week's Q&A. Part 1 was so amazing to film. It was really nice to be able to connect with you guys on a more personal level regarding, the questions and being able to respond to them in a video format. It's really fun. And I'm very excited to dive back into the second half of the questions I received. So without any further ado, I always say that, I always do a really long intro. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to hop right into the first question. The first question comes from Addison, and they asked, how did you come out in such a religious environment? How did your parents and peers react? I guess, fortunately for me, I don't have a horror story when it comes to coming out. I know a lot of people who grow up in a religious environment have a really hard time with that. Although my parents are Catholic, I grew up very Catholic school, church every Sunday, altar server, the whole deal. My parents and family has always been very supportive of me. It was never really a big deal. I guess one could argue that I always, it was never really a secret that I was gay, so maybe they just had years and years and years to come to terms with it. I'm not sure, but my parents have always been so supportive. I did go to Catholic school my entire life, so for those years it was difficult being always different, being the odd one out. In grammar school I was bullied a lot, picked on a lot, but I feel like that would have been at a public school as well, so I don't really blame going to Catholic school for those terrible years. But coming out for me wasn't really a big deal. Again, I think people knew from a very young age I was different, and when I did come out, I guess I never really came out. I think the whole thought process of, oh my god, I have to come out, have to sit my mom, my dad down and say, parents, I'm gay, is so unrealistic, and so you just see that on TV. It's really different for everybody, the whole process of coming out, and you don't even have to come out if you don't want to. But for me, I wasn't really looking for anyone's approval. I didn't really care what people thought of me. This was who I was, this is who I am. If you're not gonna accept me, that's the last thing I need in my life. Again, my parents reacted fine. I mean, to me they acted fine. I'm not sure if behind closed doors they're like, oh my god. I really don't think so. My friends, yeah, my friends basically knew, what. The next question comes from, I talk to you every single week and I do not know how to pronounce your name. Iris 1316, and they said maybe I should do a video on this. Yeah, I might make a video on these topics because I could talk about these topics for ever. It's already 6 minutes into the video. When it comes to sexuality, how were you able to find the confidence to talk to your family about who you were? I'm not ashamed of who I am, but for some reason I'm afraid what my family will think of me simply for the fact that they might think that I have not been open with them or that I've been lying to them for so long. Yeah, so kind of piggying off of the last question, it's hard to say that I was confident going into it because I think bravery is what it really takes, and then after you get the words out and after you begin to explain to your parents who you are and whatnot, then the confidence comes. So I think confidence really comes after you come out. It's such a liberating thing because it's something that's been, holding you down for so long, and part of me thinks the whole concept of coming out is so not necessary, but I think coming out to yourself is the biggest step. That was kind of my thought process going in. I knew I was different my entire life, but it was around 7th grade, 8th grade where I was beginning to acknowledge it and sort of, again, come out to myself. Because at the end of the day, the only person you have is yourself. So you have to accept yourself before, what RuPaul says, how are you gonna love, if you can't love yourself, how are you gonna love somebody else? If you can't accept yourself, how are you gonna expect anybody else to, do the same? Also, I wasn't really expecting any negative feedback from my parents. I think it's important to remember that their first reaction, if it is negative, it's not going to be their lasting reaction. It's such a messy subject because you never really, everyone's situation is different. Everybody's parents will react differently. But at the end of the day, those are your parents and they do love you and they do want the best for you. And again, if their initial reaction is negative, it might just take them some time to open up to the idea. I feel like I can make a whole video about this. The sun is going, no it's not. So I feel like I can make a whole video about this, like you said, so I probably will. But those are just my first initial thoughts when it comes to confidence in coming out. But again, I will probably more things will come to mind after I film this. The next question comes from my friend Lainey, and they asked, your hair and skin always look flawless. Do you have a routine? Thank you. Wait, what, hair? Yeah, hair, I used to have a routine. When I had short hair, I would have it down pat in my brain. If I washed my hair this day, then this was my routine for the next couple days of how I was going to style it. Ever since I started to grow out my hair and my hair has gotten pretty long, I sort of just put it up and hope it looks nice, and I try to make the front look nice for videos. I was thinking of doing a skincare routine video. Is that like so stupid? I basically use my Mia Clarisonic brush every night with a variety of skin cleansers and moisturizers. I use very like generic sort of brands. It's not really anything too special. I wake up, I wash my face with ice cold water. I love washing my face with ice cold water. I use BB cream that may make it look like I have nice skin. The next question comes from Bex Connects, who has a great channel, and they asked, what was the most important lesson you will take from your first year of college into the next to make it easier, less stressful, more enjoyable? Don't take a foreign language. No, during my fall semester I took Korean and that was really hard. I mean, I got an A in the class, but it took up so much of my energy and it really drained me, and my anxiety was so bad going into every class because the teacher was very hard and we would have to recite in front of the entire class all these paragraphs in, you know, Korean. I'm trying to think. I'm kind of just kidding about the other one. A big lesson I learned, I guess I learned how to be more independent and rely on myself more. Although I do go to a two-year school, I live at home, I commute, I still have to get up and find the motivation to go to class and get myself there. And I would have really large, you know, chunks of time in between classes, so I would, you know, schedule my time wisely and see what I could do productive during those hours. Most of the time I would just watch YouTube videos. Definitely I would hope that I could talk to more people. Like I mentioned in my last video, my first year at college I kind of lived in a sort of like a bubble. I did not talk to literally anyone. I'm not even like trying to be funny. So I think if I got more involved in my campus, in my school, and the people, I talked to people, I think I would have had a better experience. So I would definitely keep those in mind when going forward. The next question comes from, I'm definitely mispronouncing your name, Veslamoy, and they asked, maybe we could have a book club thing or something during the summer where we all read the same book and can discuss in the comments. That sounds cool. Yeah, I mentioned in my last video that I will be doing maybe this monthly video at the end of every month where I show you guys what I have read, what I plan to read, books I purchased, sort of like a monthly book haul video. So maybe we could, you know, like read the same books or take suggestions from one another. I'm not sure. I'm still trying to figure all that out, but definitely that sounds really, really fun. The next questions come from Flourishing Jazz, and they asked, how do you deal with the feeling of food inside you after eating, the feeling of fullness? That was something I really struggled with in the hospital and just beginning my recovery. After almost every single meal, I would just have to go to my room for like 10 minutes and just lie down and breathe and try not to like explode, for lack of a better term. When you begin to refeed yourself and you begin to, you know, up your intake, it can be startling to, you know, feel these feelings, like feeling full, that you have not felt in a long time. But after those 10 minutes went by where I was just trying not to, you know, freak out, and I just tried to let it all begin to digest, the feeling would pass. And I think that's what kept me going, was the fact that it's very temporary. The feeling of fullness is very temporary and it goes away after, you know, a little bit. Feeling full does not have to technically be linked to your eating disorder. Feeling full is very normal. Everybody feels full. If you eat a large meal, if you do this or that, like, anybody could feel full. So the feeling is very normal. It's not anything that is scary. It's normal and everybody goes through it. So that would go through my mind when I was feeling this way. I would be like, you know, freaking out because I was feeling something I haven't felt in a long time. How do you cope with eating when you literally do not enjoy any food? It's like a chore because you don't like the taste, especially when no one can watch or prepare it for you. Are any tips to help? I remember feeling that way when I was very sick. I would not enjoy, I mean, obviously I would not enjoy any taste of food. And I also remember it, especially when I was like in 8th grade, 7th grade, it feeling like a chore. I definitely relate to that. I would sometimes forget to eat, and doing so felt like an inconvenience. It was like, oh my god, I gotta eat. Yeah, it was like a chore. What comes with that feeling, I think you have to think of is who or what is putting, you know, is thinking that. Are you thinking that, or is your eating disorder sort of planting these seeds in your mind that, you know, this is how you feel about food? Being able to differentiate between the two, between you and your disorder, can be very difficult. But whenever you think something like that, I think you have to maybe consider the idea that may be your eating disorder talking. Again, I don't really know your situation. I'm not really qualified to give you any proper advice on that, but my thoughts just stem from my experiences and what I've gone through regarding that. So maybe you could relate, I'm not sure. The next questions come from Queenie Green, and they asked, would you ever do a live stream? Yeah, I always want to do one, but I never know like the right date, the right time. I don't know whether to do it on YouNow, on YouTube, on both. I've never done it before, so it's not something that's I don't really know. I don't really know too much about how to do it, but I would definitely be into that. So let me know if that's something you would want me to do. Would you ever get a tattoo, and if so, what would the design be? I would not get a tattoo. I just had to restart my camera, so I messed up the angle. Would I ever get a tattoo? I don't think so. I mean, I really like Harry Potter related tattoos, like the Deathly Hallows or the Dark Mark, is that what it's called? I think those look really cool. But just like the thought of having something permanently on my body doesn't sit too well with me. Don't get me wrong, I think tattoos could look really nice. I think if you want to get one, you should definitely spend the money and get it done well. So, you know, with that being said, would I ever get a tattoo? I mean, never say never, but probably not. My camera keeps on turning off and I keep on having to readjust it. The next question comes from my friend Sammy, who I'll be seeing at VidCon next month. What is your most favorite video you have ever made? Whenever I think of my favorite videos I've made, two come to mind. My first one would be top 10 reasons to recover from your eating disorder. I mean, that went a while ago and I scripted some of it out, but then I kind of just talked and let it all flow out, and I feel like the points that I brought up were pretty good, and I'm really proud of that video, and it was kind of just one that I did like really quickly. And the second one that I enjoyed filming the most was my second Eugenia Cooney video. The first video I made on Eugenia, I was just very like angry, and I was trying to bring up all these points without really explaining them. So that's why in my second video on that topic, I sort of tried to bring up like a lot of the arguments against her and like educate, even though I'm not really qualified to educate people. Just kind of talk about the truths and the facts about eating disorders and not just these stupid stereotypes that everybody, you know, talks about online. The next question is from my friend Crazy Cat Lady, and they asked, what are you currently reading, or what is the book you would recommend? Again, I will have these monthly book videos up shortly. I'm currently reading Shattered inside Hillary Clinton's doomed campaign. Kind of a hard read. As someone who quite strongly supported Clinton during the election season, it's interesting to get a behind the scenes look at her campaign and learn, you know, what went wrong and what happened and how to progress in the future. Would I recommend it? I mean, like, if you're into this kind of stuff, it takes a certain, you know, person to want to read a big book on a failed campaign. So, I mean, it's a little sad. It's a little sad. And the last question comes from my friend Demi on Facebook, and they asked, can you do a video about the health complications you've had with anorexia, if you had any? I've been thinking I would do a video on that. However, fortunately for me, I have not had any that I know of permanent health complications from anorexia. I am very, very lucky in that sense, and that could have changed any day that, you know, that I was doing such behaviors. Really, any minute it could have gone downhill. So I am very fortunate that I don't have any, you know, physical effects from it. What can I do if someone is shaming me for my eating disorder? First of all, if you're going through something similar to that, I am really sorry. That, I mean, eating disorders are terrible, and they drain you and they isolate you, and they're your worst enemy. And to have someone on top of that, you know, bringing you down about it, I mean, I can't even fathom how that must feel. I found that people who typically feel that way about eating disorders, that they're not, you know, serious, they're not, you know, just eat, that, you know, cures it. I think those people just, their mind process comes from a lack of education on the topic, a lack of awareness, a lack of communication with people with eating disorders. They sort of have these stereotypes in their mind of what they are and how to overcome an eating disorder. So they might see someone purge, for example, and now suddenly they think everybody who has an eating disorder, you know, purges. That's how stereotypes kind of begin, through lack of communication with, you know, groups of people. If someone is shaming you for your eating disorder, they clearly have no idea what eating disorders are. I mean, would you shame someone who had cancer, leukemia, you know, anything? No. So it kind of sucks how people, you know, sometimes think that eating disorders are just for attention. All you have to do is eat. It's just someone not eating, that's the only problem, when it's really, that's like 5% of what eating disorders actually are. I feel like once I finish filming this, I will have a lot of other things to say, so I will probably make a video about this topic as well, because maybe other people have this issue where, you know, people don't typically see their disorder as a problem or a big deal. So I will probably make a video on this soon. Anyway, that concludes my Q&A for this week. Again, thank you guys so much for your questions. It's been like almost 8 months since I've done a Q&A, so it was really nice to catch up with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all very, very soon. Bye!